Hi there, you're with English Coach today. I'm Simon, and I'm here to talk to you about how we can learn from great empires. One of the things that I wanted to present to you today was an example of the present and the distant past or the ancient past. So, to give you the two examples that I'd like to compare, although there are thousands of these examples running through almost every great civilization in history. The two that I'd like to take to you today are modern day China, which is in constant expansion economically, I guess, militarily, and politically as well. And the other example is Rome, ancient Rome, which, as most of you know, was the global power, or at least the power of North Africa, uh, most of Western Asia, and most of Europe at that time. Um, what I'd like to begin with is the origin of Rome, and actually, I've been following some of the early writings and early material starting from Romus and Remus, going all the way through to a well-known general or a very well-known leader called Cincinnati, which is now a city in the United States. What I wanted to pick up from that time was the expansion of those first Roman groups, or the Latins, that actually evolved with the other surrounding groups, including the Greeks and Greek influences that already existed in Italy at the time, and how they came together and formed the Roman Empire, which later became the powerhouse of the Mediterranean and, of course, Europe and the Middle East and North Africa. So, the point I'm trying to make here is that they didn't rise alone, and they didn't rise from their own ideas. One of the ways in which the Roman Empire rose was that they fought many wars in those first three, four, 500 years. And most of those wars were fought against pretty tough people. And what they did from the beginning to the end of each battle is that they would treat it like a classroom. They would treat the war as if it was a classroom. So, whatever weapons the Romans weren't using, the Romans would analyze. Whatever formations the Romans were not putting themselves in, they would also imitate. And over time, they picked up many things, including their weapons, closer to the time that Rome was an empire, completely different from the weapons that they started with, the formations, the way they fought. Of course, they started with the phalanx, but they evolved quickly after fighting hill tribes and after fighting other cunning warriors along the Italian peninsula, the western Italian peninsula there, not to mention the famous Gauls, okay? So basically, they picked up a collection of fighting styles, strategies, tactics, weapons, ways of analyzing the battlefield that gave them complete superiority over the whole Mediterranean. And I think it's noteworthy that the first strategy was just to pick up on these things and include these things as if it were like a playbook for a game of football. But you just kept on accumulating, and running all of those practices and all of those trainings. So when you got onto the battlefield, you would always find a way of outsmarting or outpositioning your enemy or outfighting your enemy. And oftentimes, the battle was more about learning than winning, and that's why they had complete dominance over the Mediterranean. I started off talking about China. I want to go back to that now by saying that China did exactly the same thing to build their industrial powerhouse or their industrial strength over the world, becoming the biggest manufacturers and also influencing all of the rest of Asia in terms of their companies, their industrial companies, and those huge sweatshops all across Asia, which of course ethically no one should agree with. They're not really good for people to work in, especially earning cents on the dollar, working 14 or 15 or even 16 hours a day in these big factories. But the point I'm making here is those factories didn't come out of nowhere. The Chinese in the early 2000s went out across the world to discover what other people were doing. They did exactly what the Romans did, but they did it for industry. So they studied other technologies. They studied how things were being built. They were creating parallel products that were getting very close to the originals. So close, by the way, that a lot of companies in Europe and the United States started to opt for the Chinese product because it was cheaper to make and it was more profitable for them to sell with the Chinese making it. So what happened? They became the industrial monopoly, which they are today. And now a company can't make money without getting all of their production done there because they just cannot compete with the labor and the material cost. And so what can we learn from those things as individuals is my question. What do we learn from these examples that I've given today? Of course, these are very separate examples. One is an economic / industrial example of China, and the other one is the example of the Roman Empire. And you'd say, what do they have in common? Well, the thing they have in common is that they were very great at picking up on, copying, learning from the things around them, adapting to the things around them, and then recreating or producing those things at the same level or even better than what the other guys were doing. And that's what I'd like to bring to you today in this video. I'd like to bring to you today this idea that we in our lives are exposed to a lot. You're exposed to a lot on social media. You're exposed a lot on every kind of website that's popular or Google. You can find out about anything these days, anything that interests you, anything that connects to your own skills and your own ambitions, and you can just study that and you can become very, very, very knowledgeable. And especially if you're practicing or you're building something along the lines of those things that you're picking up on, you can actually have the same approach to life as one of these empires. Now, it sounds very easy. It sounds easy to say and easy to do. But the point that I'm making is, if you look inside yourself, you see that you have the exact recipe to create your own miniature empire as yourself. Of course, you start off and you may have to get a job or you start your own business or something like that. But as you expand your knowledge and as you expand your expertise and skills and increase your performance, obviously you're getting paid better, and obviously you're searching for a better lifestyle. You're expanding. So each person in this case would be, in this narrative that I'm giving you today, a metaphor for their own empire. And so what I'm saying is, you will fail if you refuse to look at what other people are doing and look at what they're not doing, so that you can learn from it and adapt, and you can actually put into yourself those things that other people are doing that could work the same for you or even better, you know. So everybody's different in the world, certainly they are, but sometimes you get one idea, or you take one idea from one area, you put a few of your own ideas into that, and then you remarket it somewhere else, and you do very well out of that. So the idea is, learn from empires, have the perception that you can grow by learning from your environment, by learning from what exists in the world, taking the strategies and taking the technologies and using them for your own benefit. If that interests you, if you're an ambitious person, you should learn from empires. And that's my video today. I'd love to see all of my fans in the next video here with me. I'm English Coach. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful new year for 2022.